Hi everybody, it's Natasha here from Natural Food Pantry. I'm not at Natural Food Pantry right now, but I'm from Natural Food Pantry. I think I recognize a lot of names there, so many of you have seen me online before or in person at our presentations. I lead the education initiative at Natural Food Pantry. Prior to COVID, we ran workshops, cooking classes, seminars at mainly our Barrhaven classroom. Now because of COVID, we're offering all of the opportunities online. So there's a lot of interesting and fun, engaging webinars coming up this fall. We took a little bit of a pause through the summertime, but now this is the time where people are looking for more information and education, and this is a very timely topic. Everybody is, obviously concerned about flu season coming up, and with COVID and kids back in school, this is a really important time to be thinking about and considering our immune health. And to offer this presentation today, we have Andrea Bartels. Andrea is a registered nutritional therapist and also an instructor at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. She has a great reputation in our field, has been working in the field for quite some time now, and is also working part-time as a supplement advisor at the Natural Food Pantry in Barrhaven. So I'm sure Andrea will have lots of really valuable information to share in this presentation today. We do ask that you keep your microphone on mute throughout the presentation. She'll be taking questions at the end. So if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question at the end, you're welcome to, or if you prefer to type it in the chat box, she'll check the chat box at the end as well and address the questions then. We are going to record this for people who who aren't on the call today. So Andrea, if you'd like to hit record, that would be wonderful. And I also just wanted to mention a very special promotion that's happening at Natural Food Pantry starting today. So starting today is our immunity event, and it runs until Sunday, September 27th, where many of the immune support products are on sale up to 30% off. So if you go onto the homepage of the Natural Food Pantry website, naturalfoodpantry.ca, there's a link to the products that are on special. So definitely check those out. There's also videos and recipes, blogs, information on immunity on our website, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. So if you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram, that's a great place to catch a lot of the information that's going to be delivered over the next 4 days. You'll also find a link to Andrea's recording of this webinar on Facebook and Instagram a little later on today. So if you'd like to share it with somebody or review anything, that's where you can find it. I think that's about all for me. I'm going to mute myself and hand the mic over to Andrea. Enjoy the seminar, and thank you for attending.
Thank you, Natasha, for the great introduction and helping us navigate the new way of education online. So I'm sure some of you participants have a bit of experience with some online learning already. We've had about 6-7 months to practice that, and as Natasha said, I teach at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, where all of our courses went online in March and have stayed that way. So this is my mode of education, my teaching outside of my clinical practice here in Ottawa, where I still see clients one-on-one in person, as well as in a virtual setting using online technology or phone, good old phone. So today I'm really excited to share with you my template for good immunity. And it comes from obviously a holistic nutritional perspective. I'm going to tell you a bit about what that means as we go through these slides. Most of us think we eat pretty well and wonder why we get sick. Well, there are just so many possible influences and variables, right? So I want you to keep that in mind, and that this presentation is not going to provide individualized advice, but it does give you a template on some of the things to check off your list and say, am I doing that? Could I eat some more of this to support my immune system? Could I take 1 or 2 more supplements to help support my immune system? And then we're going to talk about the different types of support as well, because that means a lot. It's not just about boosting the immune system. There's more to it than that. All right, so here's our agenda. We're going to look at some food ingredients that actually will compromise your immune system. Those are the things to minimize in your diet if you want a strong, healthy immune system to be able to fend off viruses, bacterial infections, and a slew of other things, including cancer, since cancer you could explain as a failure of the immune system to correctly identify and destroy the cells that are going to take over the body and cause disease. So we're going to focus though on infection and prevention of infection. We're going to look at dietary choices that support the immune system. We're going to look at diet and supplementary immune boosters. And that's our general template. And so my goal is to teach you something new. And we're going to begin with a job description of the immune system. All right, we have to understand what it does for us to appreciate it and to know what to feed it, right? So our immune system's job description is to correctly identify, label, attack, and destroy bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi, and cancer cells, all right, to protect our physical well-being. And in order for this to happen, we need healthy white blood cells that patrol the bloodstream and the lymphatic vessels as well for these infectious agents that are directly involved in and is directly involved in protecting us from those infectious agents, right? So it's a whole slew of body parts and microscopic specialized cells. So here we go, just a few brief components. Your lymph nodes, and got them in here. These are your tonsils, right? You've got adenoids, which you can't see or feel. We've got lymph nodes throughout our bodies, under the armpits, in the groin, even in our digestive system. So GALT is a short form for our gut-associated lymphatic tissue. So a specialized area that is designed to launch and house these immune cells that are on the right. So under specialized proteins here, I've got a number of different types of specialized cells that do certain things to protect us from infection. Some of them actually will look for viruses and cancer cells and destroy them. That would be one of my favorite types of immune cells, the natural killer cells. Those are real things, natural killer cells, not a rock band. And they are especially designed to do that, to seek out viruses and destroy them before they hurt you. All right, they also seek out cancer cells and destroy them. Or they give a signal to another type of cell to come and eat that cancer cell so that it doesn't proliferate. So we have a whole list of them here. The macrophages, if you remember the video game Pac-Man, you can imagine macrophages like that. They engulf and eat the diseased tissue and of course the invading organism. So it's really teamwork among these cells. It's quite complex. I do not pretend to be an expert on the immune system. Immunology is very complex, and although I teach about basic immunology and immune system nutrition in the nutrition school, in the pathology course, it's without being an immunologist, it's not something that we have all the answers for, and I doubt they have all the answers for some of the questions we have as well. All right, so how do you know you have a compromised immune system? Well, you might find you catch flus and colds easily, all right? You may get repeated infections. It might be tonsillitis that keeps coming back, or even vaginal yeast infections. Those are infections by yeast, right? Fungal infections on the skin, urinary tract infections, right? Many types of infections that if they come back frequently and they're recurring then, that's a sign that your immune system could benefit from additional support. Also, slow wound healing after a cut or some sort of injury. The wound is slow to heal. It may even get infected. That may be why it's not healing quickly. That's a sign that your immune system needs support. Now, we can't depend on antibiotics, right? This was modern medicine's, Western medicine's answer to infectious disease early in the 20th century. We found it's wonderful that we found antibiotics in nature. But unfortunately, although they saved millions of lives against succumbing from bacterial infection, Antibiotics do nothing against viral or yeast infections. So yeast, fungus, and viruses cannot be destroyed by antibiotics, all right? Antibiotics only kill bacteria, and unfortunately, those bacteria, it kills bad and good bacteria, so you're left with a compromised immune system. So it's important to strengthen the immune system to prevent infection, and part of that protocol is about supporting the good bacteria as well, which we'll get to. But I promised we would discuss just in brief my philosophy to health and nutrition. A holistic nutritionist focuses not just on what you shouldn't eat and say don't eat this, don't eat that. It's about what should I emphasize in my diet to support the body systems like the immune system or the cardiovascular system or the digestive system. So for the immune system, we have two key things. We have the importance of nourishing the body with essential nutrients, okay? Nourish, and that's through whole, live, natural, good quality foods. And as I said, minimizing toxic load, minimizing things that we know are not that good for us will be part of the whole overall picture of reducing stressors on our elimination systems and the immune system as well. So it's not just about minimizing, it's about nourishing. 4 kinds of stress. I count nutritional stress as a stressor. Not everyone thinks about, junk food as a nutritional stressor on the body, but technically it is because it's not nutrient dense. It gives us a lot of extra sugars and things that can suppress the immune system. All right. So it's not just about the mental and emotional stress that people experience, but a combination of the environmental, nutritional, electromagnetic radiation is a form of stress on the body, and so is physical stress, structural stress from over-exercising or carrying a heavy pack or sleeping on an old mattress. So these are all stressors for the body. So is not getting enough sleep, right? So these 4 types of stress can actually, the more you have in each of those categories, the more you suppress your immune response to infections. So we need to nourish, we need to fortify with nutrients. But before we get to the fortifying, where I'll spend most of the time, I want to just point out 3 nutritional stressors that you can avoid and minimize in your diet to support your immune system. Number 1 is excess sugar. It has been known since at least 1973, when a published peer-reviewed journal paper was launched, was published, and it showed that sugar consumption can suppress the immune system for up to 5 hours after it is ingested. So think about it, 5 hours of immune paralysis, essentially, when during those 5 hours you can't fight any incoming organisms, pathogens, right? Here are some sources of excess sugar. We have fruit drinks, we have soft drinks, we have candy and chocolate, numerous other sources of sugar that are hidden in processed foods. Yogurts, yogurt products, I call them. They're not health food when they contain a lot of sugar. So all of these sugars cause blood sugar obviously to skyrocket. Those sugars feed yeast and bacteria. So not only are they paralyzing the immune cells from doing their job, but they're actually allowing for the multiplication of these infectious organisms, okay? So in 2 ways then, sugar is impairing our immune function. So think about, do an inventory later on your intake of sugar and ask yourself, is there an area where I can reduce my sugar intake, replacing it with things like stevia or monk fruit or some of these other sugars, substitutes that can be used that are safe, like the alcohol sugars like xylitol, erythritol. They can be used to reduce the total sugar intake in your diet, okay? There's no evidence that those things impair immune function, all right? So they're safe. So there's a full list, then, not a full list, but a more complete list of high sources of sugar, the dried cereals, even granolas. Be careful, there's a lot of sugar in granola. Most granolas would taste like sawdust if I didn't add some kind of sugar. So please look carefully at labels, okay? How much is too much? I get that question a lot. And really, it's just about minimizing the total intake, okay? If you can identify it by taste that it's sweet, ask yourself, is that a fruit that I'm tasting that's contributing to that sweetness? Or is it sugar, right? And simply by choosing whole foods, more often we're getting a much lower sugar intake than if we ate processed food. The second thing that impairs the immune function is dehydration. Now, water doesn't sound like a nutrient. It's more like a conveyor of nutrients, right? It carries water-soluble vitamins through the body. It helps eliminate wastes and toxins, right? So this is how inadequate fluids reduce your immunity. They dry out your mucous membranes. Your mucous membranes, remember, which include, your oral cavity, your sinus cavity, etc., your whole digestive system, your whole respiratory system is lined with the mucosa that needs to be hydrated to work properly. I think of it like flypaper, where bacteria will land and then get demolished by the white blood cells, which are kind of like the little spiders that live in the web of your lymph nodes, right? And they attack those bacteria and they demolish them before they can enter deeper into the body. So it's important to keep those mucous membranes hydrated. Reducing mobility of white blood cells is another problem that dehydration will cause. And just for visual effect, I'm going to show you what that does. So if you drink a lot of coffee or other caffeinated beverages or alcohol, then your blood cells actually start to clump together. This is a microscopic image from a live blood cell microscopy sample of living blood. And those are what we were looking at, they're red blood cells, but just because they're nice and round, they're easier to show. White blood cells are not perfectly spherical. But here you're seeing these red blood cells all clumped together and stuck, they're having difficulty moving in the bloodstream because the blood is too thick. Why is the blood too thick? Partly here because of dehydration. Compare that to this picture and you see hydrated blood where the red blood cells are bouncing off each other. I wish I had a way to show you that in action, but they will bounce off each other like little billiard balls when the blood is well hydrated. So this allows for them to move more easily through the blood to the organs, to the cells, to deliver oxygen and nutrients. And also it means the white blood cells, which you can't see here, are going to be more mobile and get around better to attack and destroy those invading microorganisms, okay? So coffee, alcohol, and simply just not drinking enough liquids will put your blood back in the state, which makes it hard to fight viruses and bacteria. The third thing to keep out of your diet as much as possible to provide immune support is to minimize the consumption of fried food. So potato chips, French fries, battered foods, a lot of frozen foods are battered, fast foods that you take in and a person takes in from the restaurant. They are often fried, and that frying is actually going to cause free radical damage to your cells. It's particularly hard for the liver to manage and deal with fried foods. So similarly, if you see anything that has hydrogenated oil in it or shortening in it, this is implying that there are trans fats in those foods. And trans fats, we know, are going to plug up the cell membranes and make it difficult for the immune system to do its work. So I think you're familiar with, again, a lot of processed foods here that contain not just the trans fats, but fried ingredients, okay? I could put donuts on there too, but I missed that one because I don't eat them. I guess I forgot. So check labels. All right, so those are the three things that are most detrimental, I feel, to your immune system in the nutritional sphere. I didn't even talk about lack of sleep, excessive radiation exposure and things like that. But we're talking now about nutrition. And I'd like to share with you now some of the building blocks and key nutrients important for a healthy immune function. So we've talked about the importance of food being whole, natural, minimally processed. An ingredient that's really important in your diet is essential fatty acids. Now, I know some of you are already using fish oil as a supplement, or using algae oil or flaxseed oil. These are all options and good ways to get your omega-3s on a regular daily basis. Now, foods that contain those obviously are also plentiful. If you eat real food like nuts and seeds and cold water fish, if that's in your diet, eggs that are come from flax-fed hens, all right, those are options as well. And the reason why essential fatty acids are so important is that they keep the blood more fluid. So when the blood is more fluid, the blood cells don't stick together, they function better, okay? And they improve oxygen transfer. So I'm a big fan of essential fatty acids, in particular omega-3s, which we said can come from all of these foods. But I highly encourage people to use a supplementary form of omega-3 just to make sure that they're getting enough on a daily basis. Of course, there's additional benefits from that, like protection from excessive inflammation. So lots of good reasons to use EFAs. Herbs and spices, to me, while they are not essential to the human body, I wanted to make sure that I included these foods and food ingredients that are antimicrobial. So antimicrobial is like an umbrella term to mean any food ingredient that kills or discourages the growth of undesirable microorganisms, like undesirable bacteria, yeast, and potentially viruses, okay? So here I've got my favorite list of antimicrobial herbs and spices from the kitchen. We have garlic, which has an additional benefit of being blood thinning, okay? So that's another wonderful attribute, because we said the blood needs to be able to move and not be too thick to deliver the immune potential. So garlic is one of my favorite suggestions. Another neat thing about garlic is that while you've heard that it kills bad bacteria, you might be wondering, gee, does that mean it kills good bacteria too? And actually, there's evidence that the answer is no. That when you eat garlic, you do not disturb the lactobacilli bacteria, which are some of the most healthy bacteria to have in your digestive tract. So rest assured, garlic is safe to use while you are using other, it's safe to use and not disturb your good flora. Cinnamon also, so cinnamon can be used literally, it helps lower blood sugar, which is beneficial for most, and wonderful tasting, of course, in smoothies and cereal and yogurt, well, anywhere really, even savory dishes. Onions, which function a lot like garlic. We have oregano, which is, of course, Mediterranean herb. The Mediterranean wild oregano is well known to have very strong antimicrobial effects. So some of you may use oil of oregano, and like garlic, you can obtain these supplements and use them in situations where you're feeling like you're in a high risk situation with regards to exposure to other people that may be infected with something, right? We can use the oregano when we have symptoms come on, or we can use it on a regular basis, but I caution you, oregano is so powerful that it will damage your good flora if you use it regularly. So it's really not meant to be used every day. It's something you can use for a couple of weeks, and then you go off if you're using a supplement. Otherwise, feel free about using oregano in your diet daily. That's no problem. It's the oil of oregano, which is far more potent, that we need to be careful to make sure we provide enough of the probiotics to replace some of the stuff that the oregano will ultimately kill off, okay? Cloves are excellent as well. Dentists way back have suggested clove oil, not just for its analgesic effect, it actually kills the sensation of pain in the mouth and other places too, but it's antimicrobial, so it can protect against infection. So feel free to use those herbs and spices in your diet every day. And then we get to mushrooms. This is, I think, a much underutilized natural resource that we can utilize in our diets. I listed here on the left a list of mushrooms that have some really amazing immune supportive properties. So you may recognize some. Shiitake is probably the easiest one to obtain in the grocery store. I've seen it at different grocery stores, and you can easily incorporate it into your steamed vegetable mixture, your soups. It's wonderful in soups. And like all mushrooms, did you know that you're going to get more benefits? The benefits within them become more bioavailable, more accessible to your body if you cook them. So there's this myth floating around out there that I'm constantly correcting with my clients and even with students, that raw is always better. Raw has maximum nutrition in raw food. Well, unfortunately, even if the nutrients are there, they're not always accessible until there's heat applied, okay? So that's something I want you to remember about mushrooms, is that you'll get more benefits. They'll be better for you. They have more immune boosting properties when they are cooked, okay? Even making a tea with them, pouring hot water on them is going to have a beneficial result, okay? So there's shaga mushroom, there's agarikon, there's the reishi and turkey tail. Of all these mushrooms, the one you can find right now in the Ottawa Valley forests, if you go hiking, is turkey tail. This mushroom is well researched as for its potential to protect the liver. Those who are undergoing chemotherapy and radiation for cancer can have taken turkey tail alongside their prescribed protocol for supporting their health and their immune system. So again, always consult with a practitioner as to whether that's right for you and your situation. But I wanted to say how much research there is on these mushrooms, especially the turkey tail, which I have researched quite a bit about myself. So what do they do? Well, as an immune booster, these are substances that actually excite the immune system. Okay, they don't feed the immune system per se, they excite the immune system. So we're talking about stimulating the production of natural killer cells, macrophages, the big eaters that come in and chomp away at the bad bacteria and viruses, okay? So they increase the activity of those cells, they increase glutathione production. Glutathione is our body's own antioxidant. And when antioxidant levels drop in the body, you're more likely to catch infections. They've noticed this in marathon runners. Anyone who does long distance endurance exercise often sees a reduction of glutathione because the muscles will steal the glutathione for glutamine. And that's something that they can help offset by taking supplementary glutathione or supplementary glutamine so that they don't succumb to an infection after their event. All right, so I hope you'll try some of these mushrooms. If you're not a mushroom fan, i.e. eating them, okay, consider using a supplementary form. There are some excellent products out there. The Host Defense line, which is available at the Natural Food Pantry, created by Paul Stamets. He's got a wonderful documentary right now called Fantastic Fungi on Netflix. And you'll learn more about mushrooms and how amazing they are in the ecosystem and what they do for our world. But his mushrooms, as a mycologist, he has developed mushrooms and produced products that can be used for supplementary health benefits for those who don't wish to eat them. It's a great choice to support the immune system. Now we get to the nutrients. So I ask you, have you aced it? And that's an intentional misspelling, or I've taken the freedom of changing the spelling of aced, because this is my way of showing you all of the immune builders. So an immune builder is a nutrient. An immune builder is a nutrient. So we've got vitamins A, C, E, selenium, D, and zinc. There are 2 minerals thrown in there, I realize. But I'd like to just quickly go over some of the nutrients and where you can get them. So, and why you need them. So vitamin A is not the same as beta carotene, okay? Again, a misconception is that you can get lots of vitamin A from carrots. Actually, carrots contain beta carotene, not retinol, which is the fully formed vitamin A. So vegans need to make sure that they're getting enough beta carotene in their diet, since they're not getting any preformed vitamin A, right? If you don't eat eggs or liver or animal products, you're not going to get the preformed vitamin A. Here I've listed orange and green vegetables as sources of beta carotene. So think of that as a pro-vitamin A, okay? When you eat those foods as a vegetarian and you get enough zinc, so we'll talk about how to get enough zinc in a few minutes, but zinc is essential for helping, or required for making retinol, which is the fully formed vitamin A, okay? And why do we care? Because vitamin A is key to making healthy mucous membranes, right? In the nose, in the lungs, the throat, and other places I've mentioned, okay? So we need healthy mucous membranes to protect our bodies from incoming invaders. We have vitamin C, which you heard a lot about, I'm sure. Linus Pauling was a doctor in the 1950s who won a Nobel Prize for his research on vitamin C. And one of the things that he talked about was using more than, you know, the amounts that are found in most people's diets. But nevertheless, we know that vitamin C is key for white blood cell activity, building white blood cells, making sure they are healthy. The good news is vitamin C is found in all raw fruits and vegetables. So yes, raw is good. If you want your vitamin C, you need to eat some raw fruits and vegetables. If you don't eat fruit because you're on a low carb diet, no problem. We have broccoli, we have cabbage, we have red peppers. These are all excellent sources of vitamin C when they are eaten raw. If you cook these foods, you lose the vitamin C, you compromise it, okay? So some raw food is needed to get your vitamin C. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. It is important for tissue repair, all right? So if you want to recover from infection and prevent repeated infection, then you need to make sure you're getting enough vitamin E. So fortunately, if you eat nuts and seeds, that's one of the best ways to get vitamin E. And of course, the oils people use on their salad, I call them table oils, and flaxseed oil and olive oil will contain some vitamin E, and so does avocado. Vitamin D is an immune modulator. So it's what I call a smart nutrient. It does what needs doing in the body, okay? So if your immune system is under functioning and you're getting colds and flus and such, then vitamin D can help bring it back to proper function. If your immune system is overreactive, say you have a lot of allergies, say you have an autoimmune disease, then the vitamin D has been shown, when it's adequate, to bring the immune function back to where it should be, instead of being this, you know, responding to every little thing when it's not required to do so. So the best way to get vitamin D is not through the diet, actually, with the exception of fortified milk, because milk doesn't have much vitamin D to begin with. Fortified milk does contain it, obviously, because they've added it. The best way to get it is supplementary form. In Canada, because of sunshine, we get so little direct sunshine. Over the summer, you probably replenished a lot of your vitamin D stores. But just a few notes about vitamin D. We know that the research shows it's associated with, if you have adequate status, improved resistance to infection and the healing of infection. So more people, the people with adequate vitamin D in their bloodstream don't get the complications. What can go wrong when their infection is not addressed, right? And therefore, they have better, recovery rates from various infections. We know too that a deficiency in vitamin D is associated with an increased incidence of the upper respiratory tract infections. Yes. So a lot of Canadians are deficient in the winter. I'm sure a lot of you are already taking vitamin D. How much is enough? Well, the answer there is to get tested. Yeah, you'll pay the $30 or $40 to get a blood test to find out your levels. There's adequate and then there's optimal. Okay, so I've got some notes here on the minimums and the range that we recommend. But between 1,000 and 4,000 is perfectly safe and recommended to maintain your D. It depends what you're starting with. If you're starting out deficient, you may need a higher dose. Consult with your naturopathic physician or medical doctor on that. But for maintaining after summer months, then usually 1 to 2,000 is decent, okay? But still worth it to get the testing done, all right? So Dr. Reinhold Weihe is one of the world's top vitamin D researchers, and he's dedicated his life to researching vitamin D and its role in the body. And it was thanks to him about 15 or 16 years ago, maybe more now, when I think back to when I first heard about him, that the vitamin D recommendations have increased, okay, because we discovered its role in immunity. Thankfully, vitamin D is easy to get in supplement form, vitamin D tablets, capsules, and also the liquids, and available in both vegan and animal-sourced vitamin D. By the way, the vegan vitamin D is made from mushrooms. Yeah, made from mushrooms. Mushrooms can be exposed to UV light and make vitamin D. It's pretty fascinating. All right, so selenium increases the production of glutathione, which we said is critical as an antioxidant to protect your cells from damage, either from toxins, from invader bacteria and viruses and such, but also protect against disease, pathological processes that go on in the body, such as potentially cancer, right? So where do we get selenium? Well, garlic is a source, mushrooms can be a source, and Brazil nuts are the most famous source of selenium. Again, if you're not a fan of these things or you have infrequent intake, I highly recommend a good multivitamin that has at least 100 to 200 micrograms of selenium, or taking a selenium supplement just on its own to add to your multivitamin mix, right? So selenomethionine is one of the most absorbable and bioavailable forms of selenium. Selenomethionine, it's a compound, and it's the active, not an active form, but a organic form, meaning biologically, like it's found in living organisms. So it can be prepared and you can take it as a supplement as if it was coming right from plants. It will have the same absorbability, okay? Zinc improves the resistance to and recovery from infection, similar to vitamin D, but yet has some other roles. I mentioned its importance in converting beta-carotene into vitamin A, or retinol, and we can get that from pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, oysters if you want, although oysters, I don't think I would recommend them these days because they're also going to be high in heavy metals generally because of where they come from, the ocean. So I much prefer to recommend seeds and nuts as high sources of zinc. Nut butters are an excellent way to get your zinc along with supplementation. Okay, so supplementary zinc, you'll find zinc lozenges in the store that can be used to help soothe a sore throat, but also you can use a zinc supplement daily to ensure that you're getting enough. If you're a chocolate lover, listen up. Chocolate is high in copper. Cocoa is high in copper. And while copper is an essential nutrient, copper competes with zinc in the body. So if you have a high copper intake through water and food, chocolate, then it is going to be, it stands to reason that you're going to need more zinc to make sure that you don't have a relative insufficiency of zinc with all that copper to compete with. So I highly recommend a zinc supplement, say 20 milligrams a day or so, to help offset any excess of copper, which is, while it has its, again, essential functions, it's easy to overdo through eating some of our favorite desserts and treats like chocolate. All right, so we can get those ACEs through our diet and or through supplementation. So have a look at your current diet, see where you can tweak the foods, what you need more of, what you need less of, and we can, I can even look at that. In my practice, I ask for a diet journal, and a diet journal will reveal to me some imbalances and areas that need augmentation or improvement, right? So I like to focus as a nutritionist, I like to focus on what we can emphasize, what can we bring into the diet to improve your overall well-being, instead of saying don't eat this, don't eat that, and being a minimalist, right? I've learned that the hard way over the years. In my 20 years of practice, I learned fairly quickly, but I wasn't taught in school back then that it was critical to focus on the stuff to eat. That's more important most often than decreasing the things that you shouldn't. All right, just a couple more things before we open it up to questions. Again, some important notes about probiotics. So we'll define a probiotic as a friendly microorganism or collection of friendly microorganisms that are vital to immunity. Now, it's not our imagination, and I know they don't look like bugs, but I just thought I'd entertain you with some cartoons here because that's how my brain works. My students will tell you that I have a cartoon brain. And they say, how do you remember all this stuff? I say, well, I've got a cartoon strip going on in my head for each of these concepts. 70% of your immune system is housed in the digestive tract, which means that your microbiome, your community of trillions of microorganisms living in your gut are vital to your immunity, okay? They're there to regulate bowel function, yes. They're there to protect your cells from toxins, yes. They're there to promote inflammation and prevent yeast overgrowth and other imbalances. But really, I want you to remember that probiotics, whether they come from food or supplements, fermented foods, for example, yogurt, sauerkraut, sorry for the noise, and those are all options in addition to the supplementary. Now, the thing about probiotics, okay, can you take them all the time? Absolutely. I recommend daily consumption of some source of friendly bacteria happen. So we have, after antibiotic therapy, to increase in large numbers the bacteria that the antibiotics have killed off. We want to use supplementary probiotics, definitely, and in high doses. Again, trillions of bacteria in your gut. 5 billion is really a small number, so don't be afraid to increase your consumption quite a lot during those periods of following antibiotic therapy. Make sure that your probiotics are refrigerated. If you want to get the numbers that are on the label, make sure that you keep those probiotic capsules and powders refrigerated. It's not that they'll die if you take them out of the fridge. It's more just that they were raised and cultured at that temperature. So they'll be happiest at that temperature. You'll see a higher number reflected in each capsule if you follow those directions. Now, some of you may have tried some of the non-dairy, non-dairy probiotics. In fact, most of them are non-dairy now, but one special one I wanted to mention here is a fermented coconut preparation called the cultured coconut. The cultured coconut is a product from the East Coast, a Canadian product, and it's a liquid, and you take about a tablespoon a day. And look at this. Over 3 trillion active organisms are present per tablespoon. That's just phenomenal. You can't find a capsule product with that kind of dosing. And not just that, you're getting about 43 strains of friendly flora in there, including one yeast, I would like to add, just in case any of you are needing that information. 42 bacteria and 1 strain of yeast, all right? So that's really, to me, phenomenal. And a lot of people have found that very supportive for their overall digestion elimination and have reported, good immunity, right? Fewer colds, fewer flus, etc. So if you're going to use a food, however, like if you want to use a yogurt or a kefir product, then by all means, just make sure that it's not full of sugar. Because again, most of the yogurt products out there are like dessert to me. They're not health food. Make sure you buy a plain yogurt, whether it's coconut yogurt or soy yogurt or dairy yogurt, whatever you want. Make sure it has 2 ingredients only. Okay, what are those 2 ingredients? Well, the main ingredient, whatever it's made from, milk, soy, or coconut, and active bacterial cultures, because that's what's going to make the difference, right? Yeah. All right, so let's recap. Components of an immune supportive diet. So we've got 8 to 10 servings of vegetables and fruits per day. What is a serving, by the way? Well, it's half a cup. So in other words, 4 to 5 cups of fruits and vegetables per day are recommended by the Canadian Cancer Society, by the Canada Food Guide as well. Although I don't use that as a template in my practice, I do agree that vegetables need to become a major portion of the diet if they're not already. If we're using starches, we need to use whole grains, legumes, and root vegetables as the best quality nutrient-dense starches because they contain the ACEs, they contain quality fiber and they balance the blood sugar nicely. We need lean protein, which is a building block for the immune cells. We need essential fatty acids from food or supplement, fish, flax, or algae, nuts as well. Garlic, herbs, and spices can be used to add some therapeutic value to your foods with regards to the antimicrobial benefits. The fermented foods add the active bacteria cultures, the probiotics, which are so key to your immune system, and getting enough hydration. So the supplements, think of them as an insurance policy against illness. You take it, you may not feel like it's doing anything. I hear people say this over and over saying, I don't know why I take this product, I've been taking it for a year and I don't really notice a difference. Well, sometimes it's hard to notice when you're feeling well, right? Because you get used to it. But you'll certainly feel when you're not feeling well. So it's like paying for insurance. You say, well, I may never need it, but I have to pay for it. And it's your protection against a future incident, right? The nutritional supplements help us prevent deficiencies and imbalances, making sure, because not all of us can eat perfectly every day. I know I don't, right? I'm a real person. I don't eat perfectly every day. The intention is there, things can get in the way, and there can be some imbalances. So to me, supplementation is an excellent way to correct for that. All right. And just a couple words about immune boosters. I've mentioned that these excite the immune system. These are your echinacea and astragalus, for example, your mushrooms. So we have herbs and we have mushrooms, which are fungi, right? They're not plants, they're fungi. And they contain natural chemicals that can be used to boost the immune system into action. So 10 days at a time. You don't want to take them continuously every single day because it's like riding on a treadmill. Eventually your immune system is going to start to potentially get a little tired. So keep cycling on and off, okay, through the cold and flu season. Do not use them constantly, okay, if you want them to work and you don't want to exhaust your immune system. So it's like giving your a little boost. The boost is meant to be temporary, okay? So the conceptual protocol that I've taught here today includes building the immune system with nutrients, right? Your ACEs, your EFAs, your protein, your probiotic cultures. And in high-risk scenarios, such as during a pandemic and during cold and flu season anyway, you want to boost your immune system periodically, cycling on and off with your botanicals like your echinacea, your mushrooms. We have antimicrobials like silver, garlic, and oregano. I didn't talk about silver, so I have one slide on silver. So silver is not an essential mineral, but it's a metal that has antimicrobial properties, and it's not toxic to the body. Unlike aluminum, unlike lead, those are toxic. There's no safe dose of those. Silver, actually, though, can be used to help protect us against infection. It can be used topically on the skin. It can be used in the mouth or the nose as a spray. So it's offered in a liquid format, usually colloidal or ionic form. And it's put into a colloidal mix. So it's called colloidal silver most often. And you can get different strengths. And you can use this when you feel like you're fighting something, right? Those telltale symptoms of swollen glands or fatigue or whatever. You can use that directly at that time. You can ingest it, about a teaspoon at a time. And it works very well to help with helping, directly controlling the growth of and proliferation of infectious agents. Okay, so it's something I wanted to share with you because some of you may not realize despite it not being a nutrient, that it is safe to take internally. Make sure that you take enough zinc. So if you're taking daily zinc, no problem. But if you're using silver for a prolonged period, it's very important you do take supplementary zinc. They can compete with each other, and you don't want to get in the way of your zinc status, okay? So my final message is a well-nourished body is better able to defend against infection. And that's why we want to make, and I encourage you to make live, natural, good, quality, fresh, unprocessed foods a part of your daily lifestyle. So I hope you have learned at least one new thing here. That was my intention. If you walk away with one new fact, one new thing you can change in your diet, and potentially a new supplement to try as well to augment your immune function, then I have succeeded in my job. Now, I'd like to open the floor to some questions. We have a few minutes for questions. I'm just going to open the chat box and check what's going on there. Okay, let's see here. All right. Oh yes, Natasha reminds everyone that Host Defense, the company that offers those marvelous mushroom supplements, is having a webinar tonight. So check the Facebook page if you haven't already. Debbie asks, is it okay to take the mushroom teas if you have an autoimmune condition? It depends which mushrooms, Debbie. Well, we know that turkey tail is immune boosting. We know that agarikon is immune boosting. But there are other mushrooms like reishi and other mushrooms, the maitake, which are not working on the same mechanisms. So there still will be some immune beneficial properties there, some glycoproteins in them. Of course, all mushrooms contain beta-glucans, for example. But it's a good idea to monitor carefully if you're using those mushrooms to boost your immune system in an individual who's having already an overexcited immune response. How do you know you have that? Well, you have a lot of pain, inflammation, you're very reactive you've got a lot of histamine in your body, you're very reactive, you get pain, swelling, redness, itching. Those are signs that your immune system is already revved up. So if that's the case, mushrooms may not be the best choice, but they're not all created equal. So I encourage a person to try them out, right? You can use them periodically, not every day, and monitor their symptoms. If their symptoms of autoimmunity get worse, then they'll need to reduce their consumption, all right? But it's not as cut and dried as I may have taught in school. It's not just all mushrooms are immune boosting and autoimmune persons should avoid them. It's best to either discuss it with a naturopathic physician, medical doctor, or be your own guinea pig if you're willing to find out if they make you feel better or worse. All right, what else here? We've got when you get vitamin levels tested, should you stop taking any supplements before the test, or should you continue taking the supplements? Well, no, I think you should continue taking the supplements because it's a way to find out if the supplements are supporting you, right? There are people who take vitamin D only to find out that, oh, the vitamin D by whatever brand they were taking from the drugstore is not somehow being absorbed, and they need to, they're still vitamin D deficient. So then you can say, this product may not be for me, or I need to take a higher dose, right? If you stop the correction, it's not going to give you really a good picture unless you want to find out if your diet alone is providing enough of those nutrients. But I think most of us are going to find that the diet alone is just not enough, especially for vitamin D and B12 and a few other telltale nutrients. All right, is there a problem with timing around taking supplements? Can you take them all at once? No. So depending on what they are, if you're talking about immune supplements that I've discussed here, there's really no contraindications other than I said take silver and zinc separately. Okay, they both need to be taken, but don't take them at the same time, like literally the same meal or the same mouthful, because we don't know which one's going to be absorbed best. They both compete for the same sites, okay? But generally, I usually remind people, women who take iron, that calcium impairs iron absorption. So those are two nutrients that should never be taken at the same time. They need to be taken like 6 hours apart. All right, we're wondering about fruit sugars and smoothies. How do they compare to refined sugars? Right, so here's the thing. Fruit contains a plethora of nutrients, antioxidants, all kinds of vitamins, minerals, so many wonderful things about fruits. It's the quantity that matters here. And what are you having in that smoothie beside fruit? If it was just fruit, you're going to elevate your blood sugar very rapidly, and it potentially could overload your system and could cause some immune impairment, potentially. But if you make sure that you've got some healthy sources of protein or oils in there, like you have a good quality probiotic yogurt, and you have some nut butter or some avocado or a good quality protein powder, say, from the health food store, then that will slow the absorption of the sugars. So you won't have to worry as much anymore about those sugars in the fruit, okay? Never eat fruit alone is a mantra that I tell everyone, all right, just to keep the blood sugar down. All right, Cynthia says, thank you very much, good information, great, thank you. Hi, Catherine, Kat, thoughts on mushrooms and yeast and people who have regular yeast infections and candida. I don't recommend them, and that may be kind of old school because, again, I recognize that certain mushrooms may boost the immunity, enabling the body to fight the yeast. But yeast is a fungus, okay? It actually is a fungus. And so if the body already is overwhelmed with a fungal infection, more fungus usually won't fix the problem. Instead, we go at it with the enemies of fungus. We go at it with bacteria, healthy bacteria, some antimicrobial foods, right? The garlic, the oregano, the cinnamon. Those are all available in supplement form and can be especially helpful in targeting stubborn yeast infections. Not internally, but I mean orally, not topically, please. All right, so generally I don't recommend mushrooms and yeast in the diet while a yeast infection is being dealt with, and if there's recurring infection, okay? Not great. It just impairs, it just adds too much of the things that the body is already challenged with. All right. Is kefir as good or better than regular yogurt? Good question. Kefir is similar to yogurt in that kefir has the probiotic beneficial bacteria, but it's different from yogurt in that it contains friendly yeast. So, you know, yeast is normally a healthy and good part of foods in our diet, and of course, naturally does reside in our digestive tract. But yeah, it's really a matter of taste. I'm not super, you know, I don't have any strong feelings about kefir versus yogurt. I think I recommend yogurt more as long as the yogurt is, again, 2 ingredients. Milk and bacterial cultures. That's it. Anything else is junk and a filler. And Greek yogurt is one of my pet peeves, actually. The Greek yogurt usually has about 12 ingredients. It's a processed food. It's Greek style yogurt. Any Greek person would tell you that that's not real yogurt, okay? A lot of the yogurt that is marketed as Greek yogurt is not real. All right, so make sure there's no sugar there. But they're both wonderful, yogurt and kefir. Just keep in mind that kefir has yeast in it. All right. Thank you. You're welcome. And yeah, lots of things. I mean, this is a starting point, everyone. I'm used to teaching 3-hour sessions. This is short for me. I'm cramming a little, but I do hope you're learning lots, and hope that you will carry those thoughts into your day, and that you will yeah, go shopping and stock up on some immune support. I wish you the best of health, and prevention is really, they say prevention is worth a pound of cure. I think this is the missing element that we're not being told through the media, is how important and how powerful it is to strengthen your immune system through your own personal actions, including the food choices we make. So, all right, if there are no further urgent questions, I will adjourn, and thank you again for attending, and on behalf of Natural Food Pantry as well, and I thank Natural Food Pantry for sponsoring this event. Have a great day, and feel free to email me at the, go to my website, find my contact page, and I'd be happy to answer any further questions there. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to turn off my camera now and stop the recording. Have a great day. Thanks for attending.